All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Steve, and we're going to be continuing our follow along series, and with the second week of sigils that we're going to be using to remove negative programming in regards to money and finances. Now, we're going to be introducing a couple new sigils this week, along with some additional limiting beliefs that you may not have considered or identified quite yet in your process. Before we go ahead and get into all that, though, if you do like the content that I'm putting out, I do ask that you subscribe to my channel and please hit that notification bell. Anytime I put out new videos or voiceovers, you'll be alerted to that. And it does help out my channel as well if you do like these videos and the content. If there is something that you'd like me to try to cover in the near future, go ahead and let me know in the comment section. I'll try to get around to that. Right now, I'm trying to focus on this particular area for the next couple weeks. So this is going to take a few weeks to get through. So regarding this particular subject, so just kind of bear with me, and I'll try to get around to doing things that other people have questions with or want to see more content on. So before we go ahead and get into this week's rituals involving the 72 Sigils of Power, I do want to remind you that when we deal with this type of magical system, we seem to be going a little bit more on instinct and or intuition, really. Using the 72 Sigils of Power to clear out negative programming and limiting beliefs is probably more of a subjective matter, really. The amount of times that I would use each sigil during a given week, along with the amount of times I would perform each ritual, are going to be based solely on what I kind of feel at the time. That's going to be a little bit different for somebody else, okay? So I am trying to give you like a base way to go about it as far as like performing it, a particular ritual or a sigil twice a week, or maybe doing, if you're trying to do more sigils within that time frame, maybe doing like one sigil in the morning and one sigil at night for the course of the week is probably, better for somebody else. Also, some people may need to spend a little bit more time on a particular area, so 7 days may not be enough. You may have to do 10. But do understand that it normally does take your subconscious mind roughly around 21 days for it, like new programming, to take effect. So give it a little bit of time, but make sure you're always working at it, all right? So, let's see here. When you're identifying your limiting beliefs and in order to remove the programming, I expect you to be honest with yourself as far as what you're identifying with. Okay. I also don't want you to go ahead and overdo these rituals either. If you ever feel that you need to take a little bit of a break because you're doing too much, then of course step back, and just kind of reflect on what you're doing. Don't overdo it. Okay, we're not looking to have you do like, 10 or 12 sigils in a week or something like that. Now, this week I am going to be putting out quite a few voiceovers regarding the content. Now, I'm not telling you to go ahead and do all these sigils within this particular week. If you have the time, because maybe we're in lockdown, wherever you're at or something like that. That might be a little more beneficial for you if you're trying to find something to occupy your time with. But for some of us who are still working and we have family matters and stuff to take care of, um, we may not have that much time to go ahead and focus on what we would like to. So go ahead and just identify how much time you have and take it one step at a time. Okay. Now, I present each of these sigils in their individual. I will be presenting each of these sigils in their individual episodes, as far as based on contemplative based magic or results based magic. Um, so go ahead and that way it's going to be a little bit more easier for you to focus on that particular sigil for that time frame. Plus, that also kind of limits the episode time, so you can, again, they're going to be more brief and concise and to the point, instead of being like 45 minutes to an hour, like maybe like some of my normal episodes might be. So this week we're going to be covering the following sigils. The 22nd sigil, Yay. Now, of course, we did talk about this one last week, but I do want to go ahead and cover this one again, because we will be focusing on both results-based magic and contemplative-based magic for this one. And since it's going to be like the basis for what we're doing going forward, so you're going to be using this particular sigil to, of course, continue to remove your negative programming and your negative influences. Okay. The second part of, or I should say, the next sigil we're going to be covering is going to be the 58th sigil, which is Yael. Okay. And then the 72nd sigil is going to be the sigil Moom. Finally, we're also going to be wrapping up with sigils Banad and Ha. Okay. Banad is the 36th sigil, and Ha is the 41st. Okay. Now, as a personal note, I do want to go ahead and state in this episode really quick that, when I first began these steps myself a couple years back, I personally identified with over 25 negative beliefs that I had regarding money and finance. Now, I mention this because it took me probably close to 3 months' time to remove that programming that I had with the sigil Yaye. Okay, as I said, that particular sigil is going to be the backbone of this practice. Okay, so if you're looking at your list, and you're only seeing like 5 or 6 things on there, you're probably not being honest with yourself. I'm going to be very forthcoming on that. Okay. It's not going to be unusual for most people to probably have as many as 15 or 20 beliefs listed on their list at this point in time, if you've been honest with yourself. And I'm going to be throwing out some more of those here in just a bit, things that you may not have considered that you may want to go ahead and contemplate on and see if that's something that is maybe holding you back. Now, of course, over the course of 3 months, when I use this particular sigil, the amount of times and the way that I use the sigil began to change a little bit towards the end. I wasn't quite using it as much, and I was noticing that the benefits were coming a little bit quicker with certain areas, and so things like that change over time, but that's normal. Okay. So again, when you spend your time identifying your negative beliefs, make sure you're taking time and being honest in the process. Okay, it's not going to be unusual for you to have anywhere over a dozen or even closer to 2 dozen negative beliefs regarding money or finances. Okay, so let's go ahead and throw some of those out there really quick. One belief that may not have been considered is, you may have heard somebody say, I can either do what I love or I can make money. Well, in reality, we can do what we love and make money at the same time. It's just that we've always been told and educated that, in our educational system, we're basically taught to get a job, pay bills, and that's about it. We're not taught to go ahead and focus on an area that we love or a passion, something that we're passionate about. But again, you don't have to focus on one or the other. You can have both. So go ahead. That may be something you haven't considered yet. Another thing somebody may say is, I have no control over whether I become wealthy or not, or some variation of that. Another one might be, my family has never been wealthy, so I won't be either. Again, that's putting a limited belief on your ability to become a wealthy individual, or to change maybe the status of where your family has come from in the past regarding how you were brought up. Another one is, that's too rich for my blood. I hear that one a lot in a lot of situations. And, when you're focusing on something like that, you're putting a belief that there's scarcity to the money that you have coming in, and that you're not deserving of having something nice. So, if that's something that you've found yourself saying, you're going to have to put it down as a negative belief, and you're going to have to focus on that and find out where that came from, and go about removing that and putting in new programming that suits you and supports you. Other things people may say is, I don't have time to go and start a business, and that actually stems from an area of fear, and which I'll cover a little bit here towards the end of this particular episode. But a lot of people, when you start a business, you're usually not making money right away. The first couple of months, obviously, you're getting funding, and you're finding capital and looking for where you're going to put your business at, and all sorts of different things. Money's not coming in right away, and so a lot of people, they're worried that they may not have enough to live on during that time, and they're putting a limited belief on themselves, saying that they can't do it because either they don't have the time and they don't have the money, or both. Okay, another one would be, I don't have any good ideas, or I'm not good with handling money, or another one would be, it's too late for me to become rich. You're never too late. It's never too late for you to go ahead and change your lifestyle to become rich or wealthy or more successful. There's no such thing as being too old. Uh, there's lots of people that have become wealthy at an older age, and that sometimes it just comes with wisdom and understanding a little bit more. When we think of the sigils Yael and Moom, which are the 58th and the 72nd sigil, we can kind of think of these two sigils as maybe the tower card when we're, if we're thinking in terms of tarot cards. The tower card is often seen as destroying something old, destroying old foundations in order to make room for something new. In this instance, we're removing our old foundation, our old programming, our old way of thinking to build a more stable foundation that our future ideas of wealth, can stand on, can be, it can have a solid foundation. Now, we've all heard Einstein quoting, the saying that, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So, when we use Moom, we need to understand that we're looking for our need to destroy or to replace that which doesn't serve us, okay? Both Yael and Moom can be used to let go of old ways of thinking that are really just very destructive to us. Okay, and finally, using those sigils, we're going to open up new ideas that are going to benefit us and support us. New ideas, new ways of thinking. If you stand in front of a mirror and you take a look at yourself, when you see yourself in the mirror and you look past your physical features, you see yourself for who you are in this present moment. Who you are in this present moment has come from all of your decisions that you made in the past. All the decisions you made in the past brought you to where you are now. Okay. It's who you identify with, at this particular point in time. And in reality, most of us really have been practicing this very idea of this type of insanity day in and day out, because we're always making the same decisions. We're always faced with the same problems, and we always seem to come up with the same solutions, for taking care of those problems instead of trying something different. One of another quote that I want to go ahead and throw out there is from Thomas Jefferson, and he's known for quoting, "If you want something you never had, you must be willing to do something you never done." Okay, so again, it kind of goes back to the definition of insanity with Einstein, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, but, getting the same thing in the end. Thomas Jefferson, had another way of putting it. So again, if you want something, if you want to go from where you are now in your life regarding money, you have to change who you are. You have to do something different. Okay. And it's pretty obvious. If you don't want to continue to be this type of person, then you must change how you think. Okay. In order to become this person that you want to be. Okay. And, in order to hammer that point again, like a little bit further, okay, you can't live a life of abundance and wealth if you're thinking with a mindset of lack and poverty. Simply put. Okay, and then finally, again, we have the sigils Lamothe and Ha'a, which are going to be used or introduced this week as well. Lamothe is the sigil that we can use for removing fear. And fear is actually an area that controls a lot of us. It's probably the most basic of all human emotions. And again, it's the one emotion that controls a lot of our actions. And we really don't know why. In reality, we often just feel fearful for the unknown, or what if, or what if an asteroid falls out of the sky and lands on my house. Well, what if doesn't happen until it actually happens, so it doesn't benefit you worrying about it all the damn time. Okay, so we have a tendency to lack this understanding of certainty of what may happen, and so we just don't take those steps because we're fearful of it. Okay, but in order to have more control over that emotion, we need to and have its ways that it minimizes our effects on our lives, is that we need to face that fear and we need to release it. Okay, and again, we have limiting beliefs about money or just in general, that are actually centered around fear. And while this list isn't all inclusive, some things are like a lot of people have the fear of failure. They just feel like, well, I'll never succeed at that, so I won't even go ahead and try. They've already killed their dream for anything good or new, before it even began, because they're fearing, they fear failure, or they fear that other people will point a finger and laugh at them and say, "Aha, you failed." I told you you'd do that. It just crazy shit like that. All right. Other people have a fear of success. They're afraid that either they won't meet other people's expectations, or that they just don't deserve to be successful. And so they won't even go ahead and try. Some people fear rejection. That their idea that their business or what have you just won't fit into some area or some person's lifestyle or need or something like that. People sometimes have a fear of not being good enough. Hey, I don't have the right skills in order to start a business, so I'm not good enough for that. So I can't start my business. You don't need to have all the skills in order to start your business. You need an idea and maybe a little bit of money, that might come from a loan or something like that. But you don't need to have all the skills. If you don't know how to market, you can always hire someone for marketing. If you don't know how to do accounting, that's what an accountant is for. if you're worried about the law and how the law might affect your business, go see an attorney. You don't need to have all the skills necessary. You just need to have the one, and that means to get off your ass and do something about it. Some people simply, and this kind of goes with the last one I just mentioned. They fear, not being smart enough. Again, they don't have the right skills, or the right mentality, or something like that, in order to get started. This last one kind of goes with an area that I already touched on just a little bit ago. Fear of being undeserving. They feel like they're not worthy enough to be a business owner, or to be wealthy, or in order to they feel that they're not deserving to receive that promotion or something like that. So again, there's lots of areas of fear that can keep people from being successful. It can keep people from obtaining wealth and abundance. And finally, ha ha, is going to be used for areas of forgiveness. So I'm not going to touch too much on that one, but a lot of people, or some people, feel that they feel shameful for maybe changing their thoughts about a subject. They've had a parent or teacher or somebody that they've looked up to that has taught them most of their life, particularly say like in an educational setting, and they feel that by changing these ideas and beliefs, that they feel guilty for it. They feel shameful for it. They feel like maybe they're going against what they were taught by their mother or their father or their pastor, or somebody else that they looked up to at one point or another. Well, you're your own person. I'm not going to force you to go ahead and change your ideas regarding money or abundance or finance. But I put these voiceovers out to help you. But I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to. You of course have the right to say no. I want to go ahead and keep my ideas and my beliefs that I have, but then don't cry about it. In a week if you're still beating your head against the wall and nothing's coming of it, because you're doing the same thing over and over again. So don't ever feel shameful or guilty about changing an idea or a belief that maybe somebody had taught you at one point, and that you're now finding out that it doesn't serve you or your needs, for obtaining prosperity and abundance in your life. So with that, folks, that's going to go ahead and cover the introduction. At this point, I kind of went on a little bit longer than I wanted to. But we're going to go ahead and get into the actual rituals at this point, and then we're going to go from there. So I will see you in a few moments in the next video.